fulfilling of his promise to review all new contracts and appointments made by Ajimobi in the last 3 weeks of his administration. Makende's media aide, who confirmed the reversal, said that the decision was in line with the governor's electoral promises. The Oyo State government on Friday prescribed the activities of the state chapter of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. The action followed alleged security breaches and factional clashes of the union members in some areas of Ibadan, the state capital. The chief of staff to the governor, BC Ilaka, told journalists at a press conference at the government office that the union's activities had ceased forthwith. Ilaka urged the people of the state to go about their lawful businesses. On Thursday, the police public relations officer said 6 NURTW members had been arrested for disturbances at motor parks between Wednesday and Thursday. Still in the news, and this time from Bauchi State, the governor, Bala Mohammed, has ordered the immediate payment of salaries owed state workers by the immediate past administration. In a statement issued in Maiduguri on Friday by his senior special assistant on media, the governor directed that the payment must be effected from January 31st, May to Monday, 3rd June 2019. Workers who were engaged by the immediate past administration in the last 1 month would be exempted from the payment. Governor Mohammed, in the statement, also reiterated his administration's commitment to workers' welfare as its cardinal principle. Justice Adedayo Akintoye of the Lagos State High Court in Igboshere on Friday demanded a fresh medical report on the health status of Ricky Tafa's son, who was accused of giving gratification to judges to pervert the course of justice. The judge's demand for fresh medical report followed an application by Tafa's lawyer that his client needed time to recuperate following a surgery he had abroad. The judge said before Tafa's application would be heard, the defense needed to furnish the court with a medical report on the son from a general hospital or a teaching hospital. She then adjourned the matter till June 21. The Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board has released the withheld Unified Statutory Matriculation Examination results of 4,536 candidates. The board stated that the results were released following the consideration of a committee that reviewed the results of 4,760 candidates that were earlier withheld for multiple facial matches with different names during registration for the examination. JAM's head of information, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, stated that the release became necessary following facial match recognition carried out by specialized software and information technology experts. He also said the board has released the UTME results of 231 candidates who sat for the examination at the Nigerian Navy Secondary School at Abeokuta, Ogun State. The board has, however, suspended the center for acts acceptable to the board. A fresh case of circulating poliovirus, CPV, has been discovered in a sewage located at Damanawa Ward in Taruni local government area of Kano State. The new incident has interrupted a 3-year polio-free record of the state. The circulating poliovirus, CPV, is mostly linked to poor environmental sanitation. Though it cannot cripple a child, it poses a threat of wild poliovirus, WPV. The primary health care coordinator of Taruni local government area, Nuru Haruna, told journalists that the virus was suspected to have emanated from Zaria local government area in Kaduna State, where 2 cases of CPV were discovered earlier this year. He said following the discovery, all under 5-year-old children in the area at risk of contacting the CPV. Hence, the State Ministry of Health and some other stakeholders organized a mop-up immunization exercise in the area to prevent the spread of the virus. The coordinator also lamented the rampant case of non-compliance to polio and routine immunization in the area, especially at Damanawa, Hotoro, and Daurawa quarters. Today marks World No Tobacco Day. And World Health Organization on Wednesday revealed that tobacco kills 8 million people each year. The WHO said 40% of tobacco victims die from lung diseases and about 1 million from second-hand smoke. Vinayak Prasad, in a briefing, said more than 660,000 children under 3 years old die of lower respiratory infections caused by second-hand smoke. The WHO Director for Non-Communicable Diseases said there is no evidence proving there are safer alternatives to cigarettes, warning that it normalizes smoking and hooks young people.
Every year we know about 8 million people die from tobacco. That's the global figure, about 8 million. About 1 million of them die from secondhand smoke. Now, these figures have stayed constant for the last couple of years. But out of these 8 million, we have about 3.3 million, about 40% of these deaths due to lung diseases. Now, what are these lung diseases? Cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, and even tuberculosis. So these products are not smokeless. And these products are tobacco products. So there are two big things. One is these are tobacco products, and our recommendation as WHO is please regulate them as tobacco products. The claims that these are less harmful, we don't know. There's no evidence to demonstrate that. And therefore, we follow the precautionary principle. Take precautions, treat them as tobacco products, and regulate them the way that you regulate for other products. On the contrary, we are seeing that in countries that have been very liberal with electronic cigarettes, the use of ends is very common amongst youth, actually more than 2 times what conventional cigarettes is. So basically there's a perception that these are safe products, and it's actually hitting the market, and the group which is most vulnerable, children, teenage children. So it's a problem which we are seeing in a number of countries now.
Earlier, we spoke with the Chief Executive Officer, Occupational Health and Safety Managers, and he shared his view on this.
Well, it's not really a casual activity because we have to keep creating the advocacy towards the ills that are present in tobacco use. We are in this state because government also hasn't been able to give us the requisite enabling laws to actually guide against regulation of tobacco. Until we unveil the ills that are involved in tobacco use as it pertains to lung, people don't know what they're doing. Though even those who know the ills that are involved by virtue of addiction can't really quit tobacco. So this day has been set aside to keep drumming the message home that tobacco is dangerous under any form of guise at which they're presented. But I'm happy that this year's team is focused on lung health because tobacco causes about 80% to 85% of the lung disease we have across of lung disease like cancer and
respiratory diseases. So
we need to start driving this message home because we don't want our people to die for issues that are actually preventable.
Okay, now let's also talk about the National Tobacco Control Act of 2015 now. So many public officials, health officials have called on President Muhammadu Buhari, especially as his second term begins, that he has to give priority to this.
He just has to because the government is the custodian of public safety. And tobacco is one of such things that we must give attention to because people smoke recklessly. You have the second-hand smokers who have no business with tobacco, but because there are no regulatory provisions, anybody smoke wherever he or she lies, and somebody who have no issue with tobacco gets harmed. So we really need him to actually use his office to ensure that the lives of Nigerians are preserved by virtue of this law. We've been advocating for this for so long, but you realize when you create so much advocacy, present these laws, along the line, government just tweaks, and that's why we are also crying against the big tobacco companies' interference into our national governance, and that's what happens. They sponsor some legislators against this bill, and at the end of the day, you don't see, like you saw the last one that went through second reading. After second reading, disappeared from the House. So we just need Buhari to President Muhammad Buhari to please help us. We need this very bill to actually preserve the lives of our people, especially in the area of tobacco.
And the International Assembly, some would say, took a right step in the right direction, looking at the draft of the National Tobacco Regulations. The Senate and the House of Representatives gave it a good nod. And now we have the 9th National Assembly. What do you expect now, steps to consolidate on that previous effort?
We just wanted to consolidate on that, looking at what was done in time past. And don't look at it from the perspective of what comes to the nation as revenue. What the nation spends in dealing with tobacco-related illnesses is more than what we get as revenue. And this is from the dimension we wanted to look at it. So we just wanted to look at what happened before in the last National Assembly and consolidate on that in ensuring that as this bill comes to you, look at it critically and look at how it benefits the nationality, the Nigerian population, and see what you can do about it. Because this is their responsibility. Because if there is no law to regulate this, there's nothing anybody can do. But we need enabling laws that come from them for people to actually act and do the needful.
Okay, now let's also talk about electronic cigarettes consumption. Now, this poses almost twice as much a risk as the conventional smoking that we are known to have in the country. So now, so many youths are rather resorting to this under the guise that, well, it doesn't hold so much of health implications. What's your word to the youth who resort to?
I think that's just a level of ignorance that's actually fly across the country. There's no science to prove that the electronic tobacco is less harmful than the conventional tobacco. They are regulated as tobacco. Even the new one that's coming up called shisha is also as harmful as tobacco. So they should be treated as one. Anybody that comes under the guise that, oh, this is safer for me, you are just trading in an old trouble for a new one. So it's same thing. We advise our youth to please desist from tobacco. Say no tobacco is the way to go.
And you earlier touched on regulation. Now, when at this time, some have also called for additional taxes on cigarettes, for example, because they've said having that bar on the box of cigarettes saying that smokers are liable to die young has not necessarily done enough. So do you think adding additional excise tax rates would do any justice?
It will have been adopted by so many countries, and it's worked, because the more excise duties are added to tobacco importation, the more the price of tobacco goes up. So assuming a man who can purchase about 20 or 3 packets of tobacco in a month, and as the excise comes in and tobacco price goes up, he can't buy. This purchasing power towards tobacco reduces. And even some people who import, when they find out that the price have gone up, so they can't really import as much as they would have when it was. I want to use Avin to appeal to Nigerians or family members who smoke. The lungs of the kids that live with you are still very tender. Exposing them to tobacco smoke on a daily basis is not going to help them. You just complicate their problems.
The President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasin Francis Johnson, is dead. Johnson died in the early hours of Friday at the National Hospital in Abuja after a brief illness. This was disclosed in a statement jointly signed by the Deputy President of the Association and the Secretary. Johnson was on the final lap of his 6-year tenure as Pengasin President before his demise. The statement added that Johnson's attributes propelled him to develop a deep connection with nature, zest for life, and the total transformation of Pengasin National Secretariat. It's time to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. You're watching News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. Malawi's President Peter Mutharika began his second 5-year term with a tough stance against corruption and pledged to revive the economy following accusations of corruption and mismanagement. Speaking at his inauguration on Friday in Malawi's second-largest city, Mutharika warned that he would not spare anyone found abusing their positions in an apparent response to allegations of corruption that marked his first term. Meanwhile, the main opposition MCP's leader addressed a press conference that rejected the results of the polls, citing electoral fraud. The main opposition Malawi Congress Party, MCP, led by Lazarus Chakwera, is accusing the election body of complicity to rig the last polls. Puerto Rico won the election with 38.57% share of the vote, with opposition party leader Lazarus Chakwera scoring 35.41% and Deputy President Salius Chilima claiming 20.24% in the final tally. A member of Sudan's Transitional Military Council, Salah Abdul Khalig, said that the council will only hand over power to an elected government. He told an audience of community leaders who hold administrative posts at the government that the council would never give in to the opposition forces' request that power be handed completely to civilians. Negotiations between the military council and the forces of freedom and change came to a halt following a disagreement over the representation of civilians and the military in a sovereign council that will rule the country until elections are held. The Transitional Military Council took over power in Sudan after mass popular protest resulted in the ousting of longtime President Umar al-Bashir. The news continues after the short break. The United States raised the pressure on Western allies in a war of attrition over next-generation networks on Friday, saying countries that allow China's Huawei to build their telecoms infrastructure could be cut off from crucial intelligence data. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued the warning after meeting Foreign Minister Heiko Maas of Germany, which has so far stood with Britain and France in declining calls to ban the state-owned manufacturer from the 5G networks now being built. In the latest sign of escalating transatlantic tensions over trade and security, Pompeo, on the first leg of a 5-day European tour, said that while countries would take a sovereign decision on which equipment to use, that decision would have consequences. The U.S. Secretary of State urged close ally Britain this month not to use Huawei's technology to build new 5G networks because of concerns it could be a vehicle for Chinese spying. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman responding to comments on Huawei made by U.S. Vice President Mike Pence in Canada on Thursday said the United States had yet to prove that Huawei's products presented a security risk. Still on the foreign scene, Mexico's president said on Friday he would respond with great prudence to threats by his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump to impose tariffs on Mexican goods entering the United States and called on Mexicans to unite to face the challenge. President Trump says he will introduce punitive tariffs on June 10 if Mexico does not halt the flow of illegal immigration from Central America to the United States, battering Mexican financial assets and hurting stocks worldwide. López Obrador predicted the Trump administration would rectify the tariff threat and said that Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard would be in Washington working to convince the U.S. government that Trump's measures were in neither country's interest and that Mexico was making progress containing migration. Up next is our business news. The Securities and Exchange Commission has with immediate effect barred the Group Chief Executive Officer Wale Tinubu and Deputy Group Chief Executive Officer Omamofe Boyo of Oando PLC from being directors of public companies for a period of 5 years. The 5-year ban comes after the receipt of 2 petitions by the Commission in 2017, for which investigations were conducted into the activities of Oando PLC. According to SEC, certain infractions of securities and other relevant laws were observed. The Commission further engaged Deloitte and Touch to conduct a forensic audit of the activities of Oando. The SEC also directed the payment of monetary penalties by the company and affected individuals and directors and refund of improperly disbursed remuneration by the affected board members to the company. Still in business, in its quest to continually champion sustainable practices in the African capital markets, the Nigerian Stock Exchange launched its Facts Behind the Sustainability Report, with Dangote Cement PLC presenting at the maiden edition on Thursday, May 30, at the Stock Exchange House in Lagos. Styled after the NSC's flagship Facts Behind the Listing and Facts Behind the Figures event series, the Facts Behind the Sustainability Report is designed to further promote the adoption of environmental, social and governance practices and reporting in a bid to encourage responsible long-term approaches to investment.
The exchange continues to highlight the importance of sustainable business practices in delivering value to its listed companies, the investing public, and to support African economic growth. Since the NSC launched the Premium Board, the growth of NSC Premium Index has demonstrated that incorporating high levels of corporate governance and sustainability at the core of a business are critical factors for delivering sustainable investor value.
Sustainability is a bit of everything as far as business is concerned. It's about doing good. It's about running your business responsibly. It's about community engagement, ensuring that you sustain the social license to operate, because when the community is not effectively engaged, the business is endangered. It's about paying your tax as at when due. It's about investing in local communities. And it's also about building your corporate goodwill.
We have identified and are leveraging sustainability to drive regulatory compliance, proactive risk management, and building trust and goodwill in the countries, markets, and communities where we operate.
So you can see, when you look at them, that we're starting to measure what actually are our CO2 emissions. Some of the things that we are measuring already but not reporting on are things like water consumption. If you are not measuring something, then you know that you don't know where you are. When government decides to put in place the right policies and the right policy framework to encourage good behavior, what happens is things get fast-tracked.
When we are selling cement, obviously we are selling a good quality product, and people can see that through the Dangote brand. And the profitability of the company is attached to that at the end of the day. And the reason why we can maintain the reputation of the company is also because we are pushing the sustainability initiative. So when you ask yourself, what is the relationship between this effort and the value that we are getting outside, let's say out of these initiatives, this is the first point of attention you can have.
The Nigerian stock market recorded gains in the industrial and insurance sectors, but however closed bearish after Friday's trade. Irene Ubani brings us more.
After the close of Friday's trade, the Nigerian stock market recorded bearish sentiment as the all-share index dropped by 0.59% to close at 31,069.37. Total deals recorded after the trading day was 3,737, with a total equity capitalization of 13.684 trillion naira. And on the list of top gainers was CCNN, which closed at a share price value at 15 naira per share, while Dangote Flour also closed at 16 naira 85 kobo per share. Nestle, however, dropped in its share price value to a close of 1,450 naira per share, while Nigerian Breweries also dropped to 58 naira per share. And on the list of top trades was Guarantee by value at a volume of 25.632 million shares, valued at 814.286 million naira. On sectorial indices, NSC Insurance was up by 2.96%. NSC Industrial was up by 0.32%. However, NSC Oil and Gas was down 1.06%. NSC Banking was down 1.73%. And NSC Consumer Goods was also down by 1.05%. For Plus TV Africa, Irene Ubani.
Still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup on entertainment and sports. Singer Adekunle Gold's father, Prince Kosoko Hakeem Adeyemi, has been laid to rest in Lagos. It will be recalled that we reported the death of popular Nigerian singer Adekunle Gold's father on May 28. And Thursday, May 30th, was the final burial rites for Prince Kosoko. Adekunle Gold was spotted paying his last respect to his father. The singer also fought back tears at the final funeral rite. The prince was appointed a few months back by the Lagos state government as a permanent secretary by Governor Ambode. May God continue to rest his soul in perfect peace. Amen. And that's it on entertainment. Sports is up next. Nigeria's final preparations for the 32nd African Cup of Nations holding in Egypt will begin on Sunday, when invited players alongside the technical crew and administrative staff will start arriving in Asaba, the Delta State capital. On Sunday, the Eagles' backroom staff are expected to be complete, with some players also expected, while the larger population of the playing body should hit town on Monday. This first phase of camping will also take in a friendly match against equally Egypt-bound Warriors of Zimbabwe at the Stephen Keshi Stadium on Saturday, June 8. Players and officials will travel to the Egyptian city of Ismaila the following day and spend a full weekend perfecting tactics and strategies before taking on Africa's #1 ranked team, Senegal, in another friendly. Germany manager Joachim Löw will miss their Euro 2020 qualifiers after suffering a sporting injury. The 59-year-old World Cup winner has a contused artery, according to the German Football Association, and he needs treatment in hospital. The assistant manager will take charge for the two matches. Germany, who failed to progress past the group stages at last summer's World Cup, beat the Netherlands 3-2 in their first Euro 2020 Group C qualifying game in March. And that is it in sports, and wrap things up at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is also at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do please join us again. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
This is Plus TV Africa. I'm Elsie Godwin. We are one-on-one with Nigerian actor, film producer and director, the Pan-African filmmaker, Kunle Afolayan. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Elsie.
Okay, so quickly, I think it's safe for me to say you're interested in quality and not quantity. Absolutely. And what would you say is your defining factor when you're choosing to make a movie in regards to the story?
I mean, first thing is, you know, in film production, it's an industry that involves a lot of people. It requires expertise from a lot of hands in different departments. So most times it's not only the call of the director, you know, that makes you know, a film, you know, come out well. So every time I have a project, I first look at, okay, who am I working with, ranging from the crew to the talents. If you have bad crew, all right, yeah, it's going to affect, of course, the cast, and it's going to affect the outcome of the entire production. So I always ensure that I have the right hands, the right team, you know, to work with, because that goes a long way in determining how the film will look. Then the foundation has to be the script, you know, a good script. And a script, I mean, because when a script is done, you have the first draft, the second draft, the third draft. It can go on and on, even up to 20 drafts. but there has to be a sync between the writer. That is, if the director is not also the writer, there has to be a sync between the writer and the director, you know, in determining what the message they really want to convey, you know, and a lot get changed on set, you know. So if you watch most of my films, then you read the original script, you realize that the director's touches have been added, you know, to the final finished product. So those are a lot of things I pay attention to.
Okay, it's interesting you mentioned cast, because I was speaking with Daya Musa recently, and she talked about how she was almost stereotyped in the industry. You know, I feel like we don't have enough directors who would want to take a chance on an individual to say this person can do this. I've seen you do it with Simi and a couple of other newbies in the Nollywood industry. You've done it with Toby Bakare too. So what is the driving force behind that, and how did you train yourself to be able to see this talent? Okay,
you see, as a director, different director focuses on different aspects of production. Some directors only focus on actors' performances, and some directors like to focus on their frame and, you know, the lighting, the technical details. For me, I pay attention to both. And when it comes to talent, the kind of work we do does not have retirement, you know. So I like to bring back old actors who have been around for a long time, and I did that with Zebrodaya in Phone Swap. I did that with Sadiq Daba in October 1. Mokalik, that is new. There's Papa Lolo, there's Alabi Yellow. These are veterans that haven't even been on set in like 20 years. You know, I like to bring them back. Then blend and match them with the so-called stars, you know, that we have now, if the scripts, you know, can accommodate such. And then the young upcoming ones, I also like to bring those on board. I did it with even Chidinma when we shot The Bridge. You know, you have talent and you have celebrities, and you have actors. For me, I like to go for talent. So once I discover you, whether you've acted before or not, I can really have you give me what I want. Even things you yourself don't believe you can do. And those are some of my strengths, you know, as a director.
But these people you mentioned, they have a good number of social media presence.
Yes.
Would you say this decision also comes from the business angle, thinking, okay, their platforms would create a level of reach for your platform? Yeah,
I'll say yes to an extent, but most times most of them are not even available to push the film, you know. So if you're just looking at how much presence they can bring, if you're basing your content or your reason for casting them solely on that, then you're making a big mistake. For me, Chidinma, for example, in The Bridge, I wanted to work with Chidinma on October 1, as far back as 2014. And then our presence wasn't that, you know, social media followers were not that big. It's just because I saw her in the film, and also she keys right in, to the character. And when the opportunity came, you know, I decided to give her that chance again. With Simi is raw, you know, raw talent. And that's why I said, most times I settle more for talent, you know, and then every other thing, quality can, you know, of course, add to the reason why. But first, you must be talented. You must be able to give me, you know, that, you know, which will help the final picture, you know, of the film. But it makes a lot of business sense if the person is good, at the same time has good followers, you know, so that can also help, you know, determining return on investment. Okay, tell us a bit about Simi's role in Mokalik. Simi is the, lead female cast in the film, and it's because the film, the film is very organic and it's natural to have a mechanic village where you have a booker, you know, and she plays the daughter of the woman that sells food, you know, at the mechanic workshop. And the film, I mean, the woman is Yoruba and Simi is Yoruba, so of course language won't be a problem, even though I had to really train her. You know, most of these kids of nowadays, they speak plenty English. But I had to really put her through, you know, our best to, you know, come out in the mother's tongue, you know, at the same time, I mean, without compromising the quality of her acting, you know, and she was the delight of all the guys in the mechanic workshop, you know. So the story is more or less centered around her and the lead male actor.
Okay, let's talk about access to funding. In recent interview, you were quoted to have said financing movie projects is still a major issue in Nigeria. How serious is the issue of funding?
No, it's serious now. You know, it's still. It depends on the level you want to go in terms of. Have you ever seen any film shot and they come out to say that this film costs 100 million? I mean, $1 million here. No, but go and watch American films. They will say $45 million for one film, and it's because return on investment is guaranteed most times. The distribution structure in those territories, you know, is strong enough to guarantee return. But here, Nigeria is still our primary market, all right? And when you say Nigeria, okay, even if we're talking about 200 million population, how many people can have access to cinema, which is also the primary platform, you know, for ROI, distribution. Now, we now have VODs and all of that, Netflix, you know, DSTV, they buy rights. But after all of those sales, what does that bring to the table? You know, so these days when people are trying to make film, they will first look at what they're going to make, and that will determine how much they will want to invest. So it's not really about, oh, I want to go all out, you know, because I'm so passionate about this film. Because if you do that, it means you have to spend a lot of money. Now, when you now look at, okay, how do you make the money back? It becomes, so it restricts people. A lot of people's dreams are cut short. A lot of great ideas have to be doctored to fit into the economic situation, you know, of the industry, you know, that we have now. But like I said, you now have banks. In fact, CBN, Central Bank, just introduced a new intervention fund that you can get for, I mean, less than 10% interest. It's still a loan, you know, so you have to also be business-minded to want to take such facility. Okay,
I think we'll come back to the CBN initiative, but we need to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our conversation with Kunle Afolayan. We'll be right back.
Seek their dream. Throb with desire. Joy welled up in their hearts. A brand new life adventure is about to begin. Create a life for someone new. Nigerians in China. On Star Times, Da Donkoa.
Welcome back. This is Plus TV Africa, and we are still one-on-one with Nigerian filmmaker Kunle Afolayan. Before we went on that quick break, you were telling us about the intervention by CBN to help aid Nollywood. Yes,
you know, and this film, I mean, this fund is placed in, I think, almost all the banks. And if you have the right reasons, you know, to justify being given the loan, I think you can access it. I think the good thing about this is, I mean, you can't get such interest rates in any commercial bank, you know, and I feel that the I mean, this is a good initiative by Central Bank. Before now, I think the past administration during Goodluck, they also did an intervention fund, which was a grant.
Okay.
And this was given to, that wasn't even a loan. It was given to filmmakers, to do a lot of things. But, implementation is what I'm not sure was well done. But at least the government did their bit to support the industry, So these are some of the areas that I feel seem to be helping in terms of funding, for the industry.
This CBN loan, what does it take to be able to access this type of loan?
First of all, you have to really be a practitioner. You must have a track record, and then they'll look at, okay, what have you done before? Because you have to return his loan. Any loan must be backed with the necessary documents and requirements. So if you have all these documents and requirements, I think you'll be you'll be granted a loan.
Okay, aside this CBN initiative, what do you think might be the solution to access to funding when it comes to Nollywood?
Maybe private investors, of course, but private investors will also want to, it's about money to a lot of people, but maybe government should also look at what, the Jonathan administration did then by also creating some sort of grant, for eligible people.
Okay, so in attracting private investors, you mentioned them. What is the gross margin of return on investment in movie production in Nigeria?
I don't know. It can't be determined because, see, the template we use here is different from what is known all over the world. Okay, like right now, Mokalik, we're having premiere of Mokalik, and we're saying, okay, come and buy a table that seats 8 or 10 for 1 million naira.
Okay.
We're only doing this because that is one way to at least recoup, part of your investment. I'm not sure if this is done in other places, because ordinarily you should either sell ticket or open it up for guests and all of that. But how do you recoup your money? We also do private screenings. For Mokalik, we've done like 2-3 private screenings for private organizations that will say, hey, come and show it to us, and then we'll pay you.
How about the CEO? Would you say you made your investments back?
I would say no, because I took a loan from Bank of Industry to fund that film, partly fund the film, and I haven't finished paying up, and this is because sometimes you do projection and it doesn't it doesn't happen the way, because the BOI loan, for example, is 2 years. 1 year moratorium, and the second year you have to pay up. Film sometimes doesn't work that way, because you can go into production and things will happen, and in 1 year you haven't completed a film. We did a lot of things that have never been done before, like premiering film on the plane, like having what's it called, Air France and all of that, fly to Paris with 200 something people.
Even with all these strategies, you're still in debt for that.
Yes.
So what is the way forward?
The way forward is that the distribution platform locally needs to be expanded. I'm happy that the cinema chains seem to be growing, but maybe the terrestrial TV needs to be paying for content, because terrestrial channels in Nigeria don't pay for content. What they will say is, bring your film, give us your old film, then we'll help you advertise your new film. And sometimes they will say, come and show your film and pay us. It's only in Nigeria that I know that happens. But a lot of VOD platforms are springing up, and I feel that as soon as the distribution platform is widening enough, then I feel that return on investment will be easier.
Okay, in solving the return on investment issue, I know piracy is one of the big issues also, and you are addressing the issue of copyright infringement in Nigeria in 2015 via a tweet just taken out of context, that aside. So right now, this is 2019. What is the situation of piracy in the industry?
It's still the same. And it's even worse, because see, a lot of times once a film is ripped, all right, and I'm not going to mention any online platform, but once your film is streamed online, it can be copied. Once it's copied, people have like MP4 version of it, and they put it on Flash. Some people even sell it on Flash. if you go to most of the Nigerian universities, they are the, you know, the culprit when it comes to these things, because they copy it and they just share it around among themselves without paying a dime to the content owner. You know, so, and like I said, this is our primary market. Not until that infringement thing is sorted, it will continue to affect, you know, every content that is done. And that way, people will start compromising on quality. Nobody will want to spend big money because they, I mean, how would they recoup it back? So that's why I don't blame a lot of people who do low quality films, because not everybody can take a risk, you know, to go and make, okay, a cinema film, and then you go to cinema, but if you make 50 million, what comes to you at the end of the day is less than 20 million, and then by the time you pay, you know, piracy is still playing a very key, I mean, negative role in the industry.
Okay, in dealing with piracy, what do you think the loophole is? Where does the problem come from? Where do they, aside the online platform, sometimes we don't see it online and it's everywhere, it's in Alaba, it's on the streets. So where do you think that loophole comes from? Sometimes
it happens, the leakage comes from the production house, because sometimes you have bad eggs, and you know, a copy can be taken by, you know, maybe an editor or someone in production, and maybe without negative intention, but out of carelessness, the film can leak, and that way it affects, the film gets, you know, leaked and is everywhere. Two, I mean, a lot of people used to copy through cinemas. I'm not sure, but I think that has been taken care of with this DCP thing. But with the DCP thing, it's human being that still will convert the film, you know, to DCP. So the human factor is still there. All right, and sometimes it's just from you sending a copy to an award platform for consideration, or festival for consideration, the film could also get leaked, you know, through that. So every filmmaker must do everything possible to protect their content in every way possible. Okay, we need to talk about the role of NCC in all this, but that will be when we come back from this quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still chatting with Nigerian filmmaker. I like to call him the Pan-African filmmaker, Kunle Afolayan. Before we went to that break, I was going to ask you what the role of NCC is in all this. What are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know. You know, NCC does not only handle film-related matters. You know, it's everything copyright, you know, music, books, you know, everything intellectual property. But as far as film is concerned, if they're really doing something, by now I think we should have put an end to what is going on. Maybe they don't have the right budget to execute, maybe they don't have, I'm really not sure, but I know that a lot of pirates have been arrested. And after a few months, they're out. You know, some of them have been taken to court, and the process sometimes will drag 5 years, and the guy will be on the street, you know, pirating more movies. You know, so a lot of, I've been part of a delegation that went to Geneva at the UN to talk about, you know, piracy and all of that, and I know the law amendment. The law amendment has been done. I think it's been passed to the House, but it's just been there. You know, so if there's strong, I think if there is strong law, you know, that takes care of, you know, that aspect of intellectual property, a lot of people will sit right. In some countries, it's death sentence. In some countries, they might say pay $1 million. In some countries, you know, the law varies. You can, you know, when you even go online and watch some of this film, they will tell you this film is not meant to, if you are found, with one, even if it's you're not the one that actually copied it. If it's in your possession and is found, you can actually be charged to court and you have to face the penalty. If some of these things are put in place, I think a lot of people will sit tight. But because like I said, this is not only affecting the filmmakers or the content owners or curators, is affecting the entire economy of the country. Because the money that is meant to be, I mean, we pay tax. For example, if a Nigerian film is released in cinemas, all right, there will be VAT deduction, 5%. There will be entertainment tax deduction, 5% on gross. Then there will be 10% withholding tax deduction on the net, which is the filmmaker's money. So at the end of the day, 20% is being, and you do this is deducted on a regular basis, and you're still facing, all of this problem. Then it means that that sector is not being treated nicely.
Okay. At Cannes Festival, Film Festival 2019, you were talking about collaborations with other African countries to be able to promote our movies. How far do you think that can go? You mentioned the Francophone and the Anglophone countries.
Yes. I mean, you see, the essence of, I made CEO just to do a test run and see how we can bring the continent together. Because I believe that if the continent is conquered, I mean, like if we have buying and distribution, world distribution platform within the continent, you probably don't even need to start looking at America and all of that. That would be bonus. But as we speak, if a film that is entirely made in Ghana by Ghanaian and all of that is brought here, is not going to do well. That is one hurdle that we have crossed as Nigerians. Our films are all over and they do well within the Africa continent. Even it extends to India Ocean and Caribbean, and also within the Africans in diaspora. But if we form an alliance, sort of, just like some of these airlines do, and there's distribution, and then you can have a Nigerian director and have a Cote d'Ivoire producer, and you can even have 4 producers from different countries around the continent. Then you have crew from and just form and do a film that that the entire continent can relate to. I feel that will solve the distribution problem to a large extent. I have tried it as an individual. We're also working on a film at the moment. It's titled Matigari, which is an adaptation of a book by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, of Kenya. And on that project, I am I'm on board as a producer from Nigeria. We have South Africa, we have Kenya, we have Congo. And I mean, so this is a sort of collaboration, because once the film is done, when Nigerians sees the name of one of theirs, they would like to buy into it. So these are some of the co-production. But majorly, I think the Nigeria Film Corporation, needs to do a whole lot more. Because one of the reasons why the co-production thing in Nigeria has not really worked is because we don't have co-production treaty with a lot of countries.
Okay. Now,
the co-production treaty, if, for example, you want to do co-production with Germany, there's supposed to be a formal agreement between the two governments. That is the only way you can have smooth process, in making sure the project happens. But we've been pushing, the practitioners have been pushing to see that this happen. But I don't know why it's taking forever. Last year, the president of France came to Nigeria, and one of the things that that were set in motion was the co-production treaty between Nigeria and France. And I'm hoping that that is signed off soon. But we need to have with other countries, and government has a lot of roles to play in this regard.
All right, talking about other countries, I read in an article from a Sierra Leone blog describing you as one of Africa's best filmmakers, while making a case for your services to be employed in pushing their own movie industry forward. Would you take on this opportunity if it comes up?
Look, I'll take up anything that concerns the continent and beyond. As far as, you know, I mean, the agenda is right, as far as it is for the love of art, and at the same time, capacity building, you know, is involved. It's something I always want to take up. More so, look at Cannes Film Festival, for example. We always complain that we don't have films selected. We don't have indigenous films selected. It's simply because we're not doing co-production. If you go and look at most of the films that are selected in Cannes, they are all films made by, you know, through co-production of different countries. Say, for example, if Kunle as an individual, if you have a film, and it's such a beautiful film, well made, and then you have another producer from Gabon, who has producer from London, Germany, Belgium, and all of that, and the two of you present to Cannes, they will definitely select that film that has co-production, even if it is not as strong as your film, because you have 4-5 countries lobbying already to have the film selected. So Nigeria government needs to get involved in the politics of film, you know, I mean, at the international level. South Africans do that a lot. You go to festivals, you see their pavilion, you know, they create an enabling environment, you know, for the filmmakers to meet and interact with the outside world. I have talked about what we're doing internally and how government has helped, but I think it has to go beyond that. And Nigeria Film and Video Census Board, National Film and Video Census Board, and Nigeria Film Corporation, you know, has a lot to, role to play, you know, in ensuring that this works.
Okay, talking about recognizing us globally, in 2011, you noted that you prefer indigenous movies to English speaking. You particularly mentioned that that is like the only slot we have in the Oscars.
Yes.
Is Mokali going to bring the Oscars to us?
I don't know, but the good thing is Mokalik has been selected at the Durban Film Festival, which holds in July. And Durban Film Festival is one platform where Oscars actually pick films. And Mokalik is in competition at the festival.
Okay.
Will he get to Oscars? I don't know. Like I said, if we have the government pushing, you know, maybe it could. Because the government can actually say, look, as a government, we're going to put our weight behind this film. It doesn't have to be Mokalik. It could be anybody's film. But if government sees a film that they think can actually project the agenda of the country and put their weight behind it, then Oscars is just, because this thing is also man no man sometimes. So we should play in that level.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Afolanyo.
You're welcome.
We've been chatting with Mr. Afolanyo, popularly known as Kunle Afolanyo, of course, and he's broken down the issues Nigerian filmmakers have in the industry. We hope that soon these issues will be treated rightly and a solution will be gotten. My name is Elsie Godwin. Thank you for watching.
Country people, you do well, so you join us on top this very o'clock. This is not the story where they make background for this very o'clock, and my name na Betiana Unweli. President Muhammadu Buhari go on Saturday join about 53 world leaders for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the opening of the summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. This is now the 14th edition of the summit, and it go day attended by all heads of state and governments of member countries, and it go day headed by the Saudi monarch, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. The president will arrive from Makkah on Thursday evening via the royal terminal of King Abdulaziz International Airport, Jeddah. They received by senior officials of the government of Saudi Arabia, led by the deputy governor of Mecca province, Prince Abdullah bin Banda bin Abdulaziz. Since when Nigeria joined the OIC in 1986, President Buhari, now the third Nigerian leader, will go attend the conference in person after the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and a predecessor in office, Goodluck Jonathan. The Senate on Thursday, May 30, don't raise alarm about the 11 trillion naira on all subsidy payments in 6 years. One in say further payments fit kill the economy. The Senate been asked the federal government to put an end to the payment of all subsidy, where them describe as a drain on the economy. The lawmakers don't also call for building of new refineries to finally put an end to fuel subsidy payments for we country. Resolutions of the Senate, they follow the consideration of a report of the Senator Kabiru Marafa-led Committee on Petroleum, downstream on promissory note program, and a bond issuance to settle inherited local debts and contractual obligations to petroleum marketers. Inside the presentation yesterday, Senator Marafa talk say the committee don't observe say differences did the submissions by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPPRA, and oil marketers. Earlier, we been get Evans Ufeli, which shed more light on top this matter.
First of all, they should apologize to Nigerians, this administration, because when they came in, they told us that subsidy has been removed because the landing cost per liter then was about, I think about 140 or thereabouts, and then at some point it increased. Now when it increased, they started paying subsidy again. Okay, but they've told us they removed subsidy. They brought an allegation that it was increased, and now they've removed it and they've added money. And then we're going to have this. We have lost this already to the marketers and whoever imports and all that. But the question you're asking yourself is that did we really spend this 11 trillion? Did we really spend it? Because we have situations and allegations where marketers fill papers, connive with the people at the PPR and all that, connive with the people at the Petroleum Industry Development and all that. And before you know it, they are paid the subsidy. They didn't bring anything in and all that. So these are questions we need to probe. NNPC have a lot to tell us about what they do with our resources governance.
Do you see the Night Assembly, this new assembly, probing this? Do you see them doing that at all?
Well, the Night Assembly, they have not been inaugurated, which is going to be June 9 or thereabout. It is expected that they probe this, but much more than that, the civil society must come together to probe issues like this. People must learn to go to court to ask for explanation, okay, because these are Commonwealth being depleted. And then the policies that surround our natural resources, if you look at the UN Charter, the UN Declaration on Natural Resources, it is for the good and benefit of the entire citizens. If you look at Section 16 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it stated there that the government shall stir the economy, shall stir the resources of the economy for the benefit of all and sundry. Section 14 sub 2 of the Constitution says it is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people, to which government derive legitimacy. That security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. This is supposed to be for the welfare of the people, but there is no probity, there is no transparency, there is no accountability. They just dish out figures and then we absorb it and then we move on. That is why our roads are bad. That is why there's no electricity in Nigeria in the 21st century. That is why we have no public health care system. Okay, it's because of this monumental waste, monumental corruption on check and all that. So until we begin to probe this, until we begin to put people exactly where they belong for mismanaging the resources of the country, we are not going to move forward.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission don't reject claims, say they may arrest the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, following an official handover to his successor, Emeka Ihedioha, on Wednesday. Reports being circulate online on Thursday say Rochas they arrested by the EFCC. The EFCC acting head, media and publicity, Tony Orilade, don't deny the news, claiming say na fake news. He say agencies know they investigate the source of this information unless the agency they quoted. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Thursday don't give a first executive order on anyhow refuse dumping, traffic management and public works. The governor talks said the executive order not be to arrest residents but to ensure said the state they clean. Them say the executive order don't make the closing time of operatives of the Lagos State Traffic Management Agency day at 11 p.m. with 2 shifts. Kwara State Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak talks say the government they ready to clear salaries and pensions where they owe before, and then they go can implement the new minimum wage. The governor will address the civil servants for the state on Friday. Talks say administration they hope to end the salary owing and discuss with workers on best ways for them to take address salary matter. He don't promise to pay the May salaries first before them discuss the new minimum wage. The Oyo State government on Friday don't pause the activities of the state chapter of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. The action they follow alleged security violation and factional clashes of the union members for some areas of Ibadan, the state capital. The chief of staff to the governor, Mr. BC Ilaka, now intel journalists for a press conference for the governor office, said the union activities go cease henceforth. Ilaka don't urge the people of the state, make them they go about their lawful business. On Thursday, the police public relations officer, Olugbenga Fadeyi, talks in 6 NURTW members them arrest for disturbing motor park between Wednesday and Thursday. The Nigerian Army on Thursday talks says some non-governmental organizations for the Northeast, they provide humanitarian support, give the Boko Haram insurgents in the form of food and drug supplies. The Army notes say their position they based on the confessions of a high-profile Boko Haram terrorist commander, Mohammed Modu, where them arrest on Sunday by the troops of 251 Task Force Battalion of the Operation Lafia Dole. The acting director of Army Public Relations, Colonel Sager Musa, don't talk say the Army not go tolerate sabotage from the NGOs. The Army don't strongly warn the affected agencies, make them stop to compromise Nigeria national security and war efforts against terrorism. An FCT High Court for Maitama on Friday don't hold Philomena Cheshe and 5 other Joint Admission Matriculation Board officials over their involvement in the missing 35 million naira from sales of JAMB e-card for Benue. The Marine Philomena alongside Samuel Umaru, Yakubu Jekada, Daniel Agbo, Priscilla Ogunshola and Aliyu Yakubu. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, don't arraign her on 8 counts where they border on refusal to account for the board money between 2014 to 2016. Justice Peter Afen now order make the defendants stay in the custody of EFCC pending the outcome of their bail application. It don't adjourn the matter until Monday, June 3, 2019 for the hearing of their bail application. EFCC talks say Philomena, the sales clerk with JAM, been tell their registrar and a team say she not fit account for 36 million naira where she make previous years before the abolition of scratched cards. Them say she they claim say na snake na swallow the money. Ahead of World No Tobacco Day, World Health Organization (WHO) on Wednesday don't reveal say tobacco they kill 8 million people each year. WHO talks say 40% of tobacco victims they die from lung diseases and about 1 million they die from secondhand smoke. More than 60,000 children under 5 years old they die of lower respiratory infections where they're caused by secondhand smoke, according by WHO Director for Non-Communicable Diseases Vinyak Prasad. Prasad don't issue a warning on e-cigarettes as he said they no get evidence to prove say them they safer than cigarettes. Warning say it they normalize smoking and it they hook young people.
Every year we know about 8 million people die from tobacco. That's the global figure, about 8 million. About 1 million of them die from secondhand smoke. Now these figures have stayed constant for the last couple of years. But out of these 8 million, we have about 3.3 million, about 40% of these deaths due to lung diseases. Now, what are these lung diseases? Cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, and even tuberculosis. So these products are not smokeless. And these products are tobacco products. So there are two big things. One is these are tobacco products. And our recommendation as WHO is please regulate them as tobacco products. The claims that these are less harmful, we don't know. There's no evidence to demonstrate that. And therefore, we follow the precautionary principle. Take precautions, treat them as tobacco products, and regulate them the way that you regulate for other products. On the contrary, we are seeing that in countries that have been very liberal with electronic cigarettes, the use of ends is very common amongst youth, actually more than 2 times what conventional cigarettes is. So basically, there's a perception that these are safe products, and it's actually hitting the market, and the group which is most vulnerable, children, teenage children. So it's a problem which we are seeing in a number of countries now.
Earlier in the day, we've been following Eden Yan, him the Chief Executive Officer, Occupational Health and Safety Managers.
Well, it's not really a casual activity because we have to keep creating the advocacy towards the ills that are present in tobacco use. We are in this state because government also hasn't been able to give us the requisite enabling laws to actually guide against regulation of tobacco. Until we unveil the ills that are involved in tobacco use as it pertains to lung, people don't know what they're doing. Though even those who know the ills that are involved by virtue of addiction can't really quit tobacco. So this day has been set aside to keep drumming the message home that tobacco is dangerous under any form of guise at which they're presented. But I'm happy that this year's team is focused on lung health because tobacco causes about 80% to 85% of the lung disease we have across of lung disease like cancer and respiratory issues. So we need to start driving this message home because we don't want our people to die for issues that are actually preventable.
Okay, now let's also talk about the National Tobacco Control Act of 2015. Now, so many public officials, health officials, have called on President Muhammadu Buhari, especially as his second term begins, that he has to give priority to this.
He just has to because the government is the custodian of public safety. And tobacco is one of such things that we must give attention to because people smoke recklessly. You have the second-hand smokers who have no business with tobacco, but because there are no regulatory provisions, anybody smoke wherever he or she likes, and somebody who have no issue with tobacco gets harmed. So we really need him to actually use his office to ensure that the lives of Nigerians are preserved by virtue of this law. We've been advocated for this for so long, but you realize when you create so much advocacy, present these laws, along the line, the government just tweaks, and that's why we are also crying against the big tobacco companies' interference into our national governance, and that's what happens. They sponsor some legislators against this bill, and at the end of the day, you don't see, like you saw the last one that went through second reading, and that second reading disappeared from the House. So we just need Buhari to President Muhammad Buhari to please help us. We need this very bill to actually preserve the lives of our people, especially in the area of tobacco.
And the International Assembly, some would say, took a right step in the right direction, looking at the draft of the National Tobacco Regulations. The Senate and the House of Representatives gave it a good nod. And now we have the 9th National Assembly. What do you expect now, steps to consolidate on that previous effort?
We just wanted to consolidate on that, looking at what was done in time past. And don't look at it from the perspective of what comes to the nation as revenue. What the nation spends in dealing with tobacco-related illnesses is more than what we get as revenue. And this is from the dimension we wanted to look at it. So we just wanted to look at what happened before in the last National Assembly and consolidate on that and ensure that as this bill comes to you, look at it critically and look at how it benefits the nationality, the Nigerian population, and see what you can do about it. Because this is their responsibility. Because if there is no law to regulate this, there's nothing anybody can do. But we need enabling laws that come from them for people to actually act and do the needful.
Okay, now let's also talk about electronic cigarettes consumption. Now, this poses almost twice as much a risk as the conventional smoking that we are known to have in the country. So now, so many youths are rather resorting to this under the guise that, well, it doesn't hold so much of health implications. What's your word to the youth to resort to?
I think that's just a level of ignorance that's actually fly across the country. There's no science to prove that the electronic tobacco is less harmful than the conventional tobacco. they are regulated as tobacco. Even the new one that's coming up, called shisha, is also as harmful as tobacco. So they should be treated as one. Anybody that comes under the guise that, oh, this is safer for me, you are just trading in an old trouble for a new one. So it's same thing. We advise our youth to please desist from tobacco. Say no tobacco is the way to go.
And you earlier touched on regulation. Now, when at this time, some have also called for additional taxes on cigarettes, for example, because they've said having that bar on the box of cigarettes saying that smokers are liable to die young has not necessarily done enough. So do you think adding additional excise tax rates would do any justice?
It will have been adopted by so many countries, and it worked, because the more excise duties are added to tobacco importation, the more the price of tobacco goes up. So assuming a man who can purchase about 20 or 3 packets of tobacco in a month, and as the excise comes in and tobacco price goes up, he can't buy. This purchasing power to tobacco reduces, and even some people who import, but they find out that the price have gone up, so they can't really import as much as they would have when it was. I want to use Advent to appeal to Nigerians or family members who smoke. The lungs of the kids that live with you are still very tender. Exposing them to tobacco smoke on a daily basis is not going to help them. You just complicate their problems.
The National Seed Council of Nigeria don't talk say them need make farmers get access to good quality seeds for farming. The Director General of the Seed Council, Dr. Olusegun Ola, talks say the council they determined to ensure say them get food security, and now why they want make the seeds meet high standards. Ola talks say the council they committed to exposing vendors where get poor quality seeds so that farmers go fit make a more informed choice on where to buy their seed.
We want to ensure that all farmers have adequate access to good quality seeds. At the end of the day, we want to push the food security agenda to a very high level so that we will be completely food secure, not only in Nigeria, but in West Africa, because you discover that most of the countries in West Africa depend on us for seeds. And, when there's seed security, there's food security.
We have 3 classes of seeds. 3 classes of seeds. We have what we call the breeder seed, which is produced at the research level, whether by a private or a research institution. We have various research institutions in Nigeria with mandate crops, and they produce what we call breeder seeds. Now, in the seed technology terms, when you replicate or multiply breeder seeds, what you get as the progeny or as the baby is called foundation seed. And when you multiply foundation seed in another generation, what you get is called certified seed.
Farmers need to know, all right, who are those people who are producing good quality seeds. All right, it's the same thing as you have with the drug system, okay, the NAFDAC certification. So what we're making arrangement for is that we bring visibility to the farmers, we bring transparency to the different actors, so people can trace back the quality of seeds, okay, that they get, and be assured that their money, is not wasted.
Now time for us to go a small break. When we come back, more stories still there on Top Read Table. President of the United Nations General Assembly, Maria Espinosa, don't clap hand for South Africa first gender parity cabinet where President Cyril Ramaphosa announced on Thursday. Espinosa gave the commendation inside tweet after Ramaphosa announced say the new cabinet for where he dey for the first time in the country history, now 50% of all ministers be women. She said the decision is a strong example of an inclusive leadership style where go bear fruit not only for South Africa but for the entire region. According by the BBC, Ramaphosa don't reduce the number of the ministers in waiting they call a bloated cabinet from 36 people reach 28 people. The news will still continue after this chickeny break. Francis don't collect welcome with military honors by Romania Presido for the ornate Controseni Palace for Bucharest after he arrival on Friday for a 3-day visit. Arriving for the former communist community at the time of political gbege, where they caused by a corruption scandal, the Pope don't urge Romania's civilian and religious leaders make them work together for the common good of the people. As they praise the progress where the country don't make in the 30 years since the fall of communism and their integration into European community, he said they still get problems of social stability and governance. He don't call the attention to the more than 4 million Romanians who don't come out from the country since 1989 in search of employment and better living condition. A Navy SEAL platoon leader Don court-martial on charges say he killed an Islamic State prisoner for Iraq in 2017 and he don't be released by a military judge from base confinement for San Diego on Thursday, May 30, less than 2 weeks before he is due to go on trial. The Navy captain presiding over the case, 9 other Special Operations Chief Edward Gallagher, today free from custody at the end of a 5-hour pre-trial hearing on several defense motions where they based on accusations of prosecutorial misconduct. Gallagher, who plead not guilty to all charges, don't they restricted to base for the Naval Medical Center San Diego since late March. Jury selection will begin June 10 for the court-martial, where they in charge of Gallagher with killing a helpless, wounded Islamic State fighter for in custody and of shooting 2 unarmed civilians, a schoolgirl and an elderly man.
It's huge. I mean, having the ability to be free while preparing for a trial, if there's going to be a trial in this case, is huge for assisting in your own defense. You know, when he was initially put in the brig, it made it impossible to prepare. When he moved from there to the pretrial restriction, that made it a lot better, but he still didn't have access to a good cell phone reception, didn't have access to be able to get through all the discovery, to email me back and forth. And now having him free, you know, that really significantly opens up our ability to prepare. And they say that this was just an audit tool that they used against everybody. It's not true. They used a tracking beacon, and they only focused it on the defense attorneys. They focused on they used criminal investigators to investigate something that wasn't even a crime, solely for the purpose of trying to attack defense attorneys for defending Eddie Gallagher.
You know, my brother-in-law and I have been fighting for my husband for so long and for his freedom, and sometimes felt like, you know, that was never going to happen. And then today it happened, and I mean, I just feel like it's just a huge step in the right direction, and I'm just so thankful. Thank God that, you know, we're here at this moment, and that we know that we've only grown stronger through this. Our marriage, everything, I don't know, it's just been a really surreal moment. I didn't anticipate it at all.
Coming up next, now Tori for Inside Business. U.S. President Donald Trump don't announce tax on all goods where they come from Mexico in a bid to curb illegal immigration. Inside tweet, Trump talks say from 10th of June, a 5% tax go there and it go continue to rise slowly until the illegal immigration problem don't they remedied. President Trump don't declare a national emergency to tackle wetin he claims say a crisis for the U.S. southern border. Jesus Seed, Mexico top diplomat for North America, talks say the tax could be very disastrous. Still to come on Top Plus TV Africa News, now a roundup for Inside Entertainment and Sports Story.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Right, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Grammy-winning singer R. Kelly done dey charged on Thursday, May 30, 2019, with 11 new felony counts of sexual assault. The singer dey indicted by a Cook County grand jury on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual assault, 2 counts of criminal sexual assault by force, and 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. According by court documents, he also dey indicted on 3 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse against a victim wey dey between the ages of 13 to 16 years. Kelly go return back in court next week at an undisclosed date wey go dey arraigned on the new charges. That na wetin we get on top entertainment. Coming up next, na the very best for Inside Sports story. Germany manager Joachim Low go miss their Euro 2020 qualifiers against Belarus and Estonia after he suffered a sporting wound. The 59-year-old World Cup winner gets wetin dem dey call a contused artery, according by the German Football Association, and he need treatment for hospital. Assistant manager Markus Sorg go take charge for the 2 matches. Germany, wey failed to progress past the group stages for last summer World Cup, don beat the Netherlands 3-2 for their first Euro 2020 Group C qualifying game in March. Chelsea former England goalkeeper Rob Green don announce a retirement after when he leaves the Europa League. The 39-year-old been starting career as a trainee for Norwich City, and he also played for West Ham during a 23-year career. Green don't get 650 professional appearances, 9 win the first division with Norwich City for 2004, and him na part of the PFA Team of the Year in that same season before he can go win the Championship playoff final with West Ham for the 2011-2012 season, winning promotion to the Premier League. Him arrived for Stamford Bridge on a free transfer from Huddersfield Town in 2018 as their choice keeper. Una do well that na the join tori where we get on top this o'clock. For more better informate, go follow us for Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And it go make sense if you subscribe for our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We go still jam later with more tori where they do background for inside we Obodo Naija and Obodo World. Don't forget to join us. My name na Betiana Unweli. Make una enjoy una day.
And there they have it. The object of desire in Bavarian hands once again. Bayern are German champions for the 7th time in a row. Everyone's happy, and especially him.
Ich glaube, solch ein Comeback gab's in der Form noch nicht.
But someone is at the same time elated and sad. Franck Ribéry. The number 7 is leaving Bayern and the Bundesliga after 12 long years.
Aber das ist Fußball und Leben.
Kickoff met the Bayern legend in an exclusive interview where he talked us through the beautiful and difficult moments, his family, and someone extra special.
Er ist ein zweiter Vater.
All that and more right now on Kickoff Live. Bayern Munich have done it again. Bundesliga champions for a 7th year in a row. But for much of the season, it looked like it might not happen.
I doubt there's been a comeback in quite this form.
Noch nicht.
They got off to an impressive start under their new coach.
Thomas Müller opens his and Bayern's account for the season.
And their arch-rivals Dortmund? They too had a new man on the touchline, as well as a revamped team that took the league by storm over the opening half of the campaign. Bayern began to struggle. It was turning into a melancholy autumn for the champions.
I can't say exactly. We know there are a few things we need to improve. We won't be addressing it in public.
Matchday 11 served up the first Klassiker of the season in Dortmund. A pulsating contest, and the hosts won it 3-2. Another blow for Bayern, but then things got even worse. A home game against struggling top-flight returnees Düsseldorf, as hat-trick hero Dodi Lukebakio earned Fortuna a 3-3 draw, leaving Bayern now 9 points behind Dortmund.
It's not winter yet, but there's thin ice already. Do you feel secure here? Yes. I think we're the best team in Germany. We've made mistakes and dropped points, but come the finish, I reckon we'll be champions.
A club with an ingrained will to win. And as they eventually proved, it wasn't all talk. But Dortmund still had their own clear agenda.
To win the league. That's my best wish, yes.
But starting the new year without injured Marco Reus, they were the ones now struggling and losing points to supposed lesser lights.
I'm not really interested in discussing Bayern's strengths.
We want to go in and show them that we want to be champions this year and beat them at home.
Klassiker take 2, this time in Munich. Bayern 5, Dortmund 0. This one was going right down to the wire. All the way to the final match day, decision time.
Command! Oh, it's the start of title dreams here for Bayern.
Bayern only needed a draw to take the title. Dortmund broke the deadlock at Mönchengladbach, and their outlook brightened further when Frankfurt then pulled level in Munich. But not for long. Bayern promptly switched through the gears and scored 4 more without reply, putting the icing on the title cake. A goal apiece from departing legends Franck Ribéry and Arjen Robben, plus another top scorer's cannon for Robert Lewandowski. A perfect final match. Let's analyse how Bayern do it. Once again, Bayern have shown the others how it's done. How to wing it, how to tackle head-on, how to find the gap that seemingly isn't there. They can do it like nobody else, and that's why they're champions. So let's take a look at the nuts and bolts. When the heat is on, Bayern keep their cool. The final match day against Frankfurt with the title on the line. It's 0-0, and Eintracht have 10 players covering the centre. The obvious route here is down the left, but Mats Hummels goes for the high-risk option, straight through the middle. Now Frankfurt's 3-man backline really has to close ranks. Kingsley Coman peels away, and the defenders, drawn to the ball, momentarily lose sight of him. A costly slip. Bayern kicks straight into top gear, and the Frankfurt rearguard is sliced open. Coman the executioner, a champion move from start to finish, and well worth a second look. Once Hummels plays this ball, the outnumbered Reds must make every pass count, and they do. First time from Gnabry, 2 touches from Müller, 2 more from Lewandowski, all at top speed, the control, timing and finish flawless. defending against Bayern simultaneously down the middle and out wide. A demonstratively thankless task. When the going gets tough, Bayern get going, automatically, as at Wolfsburg. The visitors are a man down, but rather than protect their slender lead, they go on the offensive. Thiago playing the ball into the heart of the Wolves' defence to Lewandowski. Wolfsburg's back row are solidly positioned, guarding the centre, but they've left James free out wide, and Bayern instantly make them pay for it. 3-1, points in the bag, thanks to the league's deadliest combination of high-risk speed and precision. This at home to Stuttgart, Thiago the instigator again. A simple pass to Joshua Kimmich, taking 6 opponents out of the equation. Stuttgart's back four are spread thin. 13 metres between the central defenders is more space than Kimmich needs to set Lewandowski on his way. And the Pole finishes the job. Whether they take it out wide or go straight through the middle, Bayern on their game are virtually unstoppable. Tactically as well, it's the stuff of champions. Now let's get up close and personal with a 9-time Bayern champ who's saying goodbye to the Bundesliga, Frank Ribéry.
Dankeschön. Die Familie Ribéry, sie lieben euch. Mia Samia!
Mir gefällt hier die Leben, mir gefällt die Mentalität, wie die Leute funktionieren.
Zum Beispiel, was ist irgendwie typisch?
Typisch. Ein Wort, sage ich? Oder
Zum Beispiel? Oder irgendeine Geschichte, die dir einfällt oder so? Das ist irgendwie...
Ja, ich habe sofort gelernt, ein Wort. Schau mal, oder? Ist bayerisch, oder?
Yes, let's wait and see is pretty Bavarian, just like Lederhosen and beer at Oktoberfest. And just like these red jerseys from FC Bayern. And he's probably the most Bavarian Frenchman of all time, Frank Ribéry.
Ich habe hier so ein Bild mitgebracht von dir.
Ja.
Wenn du das selber so anschaust, was denkst du, wenn du den Typen siehst?
Guter Style. Ja, bedeutet viel. Viel mit dem Trikot von Bayern. Weil du weißt, für 12 Jahre mit diesem Trikot war richtig eine tolle Zeit für mich, auch für meine Familie, für Bayern, für die Fans auch.
The man with the good style had a fantastic time on the pitch. With Bayern, he was crowned German champion 9 times. He even helped win the historic treble, 124 goals and 182 assists. A wizard with the ball who's now saying goodbye to the Bundesliga with us.
Gibt es irgendwie einen besonderen Moment, an den du am liebsten zurückdenkst?
Was ich kann sagen, natürlich glaube ich, alle weiß, diese beste Saison für uns war 2013. Was wir haben gemacht auch für Bayern, für uns, für die Fans. Ein Jahr vorher war richtig schwer für uns, weil wir haben verlieren gegen Chelsea zu Hause, ein Champions League Final und dann der zweite Platz in der Bundesliga. Verlieren in den Pokal auch. War richtig ein richtiger Schlag bekommen nach der Final Champions League. War tut weh. Und dann ein Jahr später, wir haben die Triple gemacht und dann wir haben gewonnen in Marrakesch, Supercup gegen Chelsea in Prag. Ich war beste Spieler in Europa auch. War super.
Ich habe noch so ein paar Bilder, die, glaube ich, auch mit deiner Zeit hier in München zu tun haben, mit Menschen, mit denen du hier zusammengearbeitet hast.
Ja.
Ich hätte gerne, dass du mal drauf schaust und mir sagst, was dir zu den Leuten einfällt. Ich kann das hier nochmal kurz rausnehmen.
Ich muss anfangen beim Uli. Ja, ich glaube, wenn ich bin gekommen hier, Oli war oft bei uns auch. Diese Mann, ich kann nicht vergessen um mein Leben, was er gemacht hat. Das ist unglaublich. Er war immer mit mir und ich habe gemerkt, dass eine Person ist richtig mit seinem Herz auch, ist herrlich. Ja, aber manchmal ich habe auch gekannt ein paar Situationen schwer in meinem Leben, auch wenn ich war verletzt. So. Egal, aber er war immer mit mir. Er war zu viel geredet, er war immer positiv auch. Und das ist schön. Wie ein zweiter Vater. Und du weißt, wir haben eine Relation spezial. Und wenn er eine Situation gehabt hat, er war im Gefängnis, ich war da einmal.
Uli Hoeneß, the president of FC Bayern, the man behind all the success. But in 2014, he was sent behind bars for 2 years for tax evasion.
Und wie war das, ihn da zu erleben, ihn da zu sehen?
Und ich habe gesehen, diese Person, ich habe auch gesagt so, zu ihm, okay, schwer, aber was, ich kann dich helfen oder was ich kann machen, sag mir Bescheid oder sag zu deiner Frau, ich bin da. Der liebt seinen Club auch und das ist ja, eine super Person.
Und er hier war auch wichtig, glaube ich, ne?
Ja. Jupp ist eine große Person, ein großer Trainer, hat so viel Erfahrung. Eine Person mit seinem Herz ist unglaublich. Er weiß, was er braucht, seine Spieler, was er muss machen mit seinen Spielern. Und meine beste Zeit auch war mit ihm auch hier. Ja, ein Exempel, wenn es gekommen letzte Saison, ich war Verletzung auf meine Knie. Nach 3 Monaten Verletzung, wir spielen gegen Paris Saint-Germain zu Hause. Und es ist gekommen bei mir und gesagt, du spielst und du bist Kapitän. Nach 3 Monaten Verletzung, ich sage, wow, ja, du spielst gegen Paris Saint-Germain zu Hause. Ich weiß, du spielst gegen eine französische Mannschaft. Ich weiß deine Motivation, ich weiß dein Gefühl. Aber du weißt, das ist die kleine Sache, ein kleines Detail, aber sehr wichtig. Und erkennen auch die Trainer. Und das ist, kann ich vergessen.
Hat an dich geglaubt. Also zwei Figuren, auf die du geschaut hast, die dir geholfen haben. Und dann ist das ja wahrscheinlich eher so dein Sohn, oder? Da bist du der Papa.
Ja, kann ich sagen, richtig mein Sohn, aber richtig mein kleiner Bruder, ja. Ich habe gekannt, David, der war noch in einem Internat hier bei Bayern. Ich glaube, er war 15 Jahre oder 16 Jahre alt. Und ab und zu, ich bin gekommen hier. Wir haben ein bisschen unterwegs in der Stadt.
Dann hast du aufgepasst.
Ja, und dann wir haben nur Essen, ein bisschen zusammen und dann wieder zurück hier. Und dann, wenn es gekommen mit uns ab und zu, er hat gemacht Training mit uns. Und sofort, ich habe gesagt, alles gut, Junge, gut, mach gut und ich bin da, das ist kein Problem. Und war schön für ihn auch. Du weißt, wenn die Jungs kommen mit uns, beim Profi ist ist nicht einfach manchmal, versteht? Ja, ein bisschen nicht so Angst, aber gib mir mal ein bisschen Stress oder ein bisschen, die Jungs sind ein bisschen nervös so. Und dann, ja, wir sind schon lang zusammen und für mich David ist der beste Spieler auf seiner Seite.
Frank wasn't only like an older brother. He was the prankster on the team for 12 years. If you found a dead fish in the trunk of your car or took an unexpected shower, it was surely Frank.
Das ist immer schön hier. Ich freue mich. Ich bin glücklich. Aber ich wollte sagen was. David Alaba war so schlecht, okay. Du musst gehen nach Hause, besser. Oder?
But on the pitch, number 7 was purely a professional. He ruled the left flank, and who was his strongest partner on the right?
Ja, Rob ist gekommen nach München. Nach 3 Tagen gespielt gegen Wolfsburg. Wir sind zusammen zu Hause. Und sofort hast du gemerkt, gute Gefühl zusammen, auf dem Platz auch. Und Rob, was er gemacht hat, das ist unglaublich. Er hat viel Erfahrung, viel gekannt, auch viele große Clubs in seinem Leben. Und wir haben auch gewonnen, alles zusammen. Das ist schön. Und was ich kann sagen zu Robin, das arbeiten viel. Das ist jeden Tag ist richtig Profi. Und für mich das ist ein großes Exempel auch für die Jungs auch. Aber was wir haben gemacht, das sind Leute, die kann ich vergessen. Und schön, wie die Leute haben gesagt, das ist Robbery, das ist ein super Vorname. Ja, natürlich ist es schwer, ja. Natürlich schwer, wenn ich gehe, natürlich auch. Für die ganze Mannschaft, auch beim Staff, auch beim Physio, beim Fitnesstrainer. Fällt etwas, sicher. Das ist, ich höre viel schon. Wie kann man ohne dich, verstehst du? Aber das ist Fußball und Leben.
Dankeschön. Die Familie Ribéry, sie lieben euch. Mia Samia!
Wie geht's denn jetzt weiter?
Ich weiß nicht, was ich weiter, ja, natürlich. Ich bin noch Fußball, aber ich weiß nicht wo. Ich habe noch nicht richtig einen Plan.
Well, Qatar is always an option. Or China. But our recommendation, Sydney, Australia.
Aber worauf hättest du denn Lust? Du hast ja auch eine große Familie.
Ja, ich habe eine große Familie. Wir sind mit mir, wir sind 7.
Ja, und ihr seid sehr eng.
Ja, und wir sind richtig eine Familie. Und ich glaube, das ist das Beste, was es gibt. Und ich bin schon lang mit meiner Frau. Was sie hat gemacht, auch für mich, für mein Leben, ich kann nicht vergessen. Sie war immer mit mir. Egal, ist mit mir, das ist unglaublich. Wenn also eine Familie, also eine Frau oder so, eine Frau ist stark, und dann ich bin stolz von meiner Frau. Alles, was ich mache, das ist nur für meine Familie auch. Also ich verdient auch so. Und jetzt ist glücklich. Gott sei Dank.
And thank you. Frank Ribéry, we're wishing you all the best.
Vielen Dank nochmal.
Ja, alles Gute.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, Frank.
Ciao.
Tschüss.
There's only one champion, but other clubs still had something to fight for. We look back on the final match day that decided who will be heading to Europe. Saturday, the 18th of May, decision day in the Bundesliga. Who would make the Champions League? Who was heading for the Europa League? And who would win the title? So many open questions.
We have to take our chances and hope Frankfurt pull off an upset in Munich.
All to play for. It's great. That's why we became footballers, to have a shot at winning games like these.
I've said my dream is to leave with a ticket to the Champions League. For that, we need 50,000 behind us at Borussia Park.
It's easy. Win the game.
Warm welcome to the climax of the campaign. It is the last day of the season, and it is decision day.
The final countdown to the final game of the season.
For Bayern, it was all about the title. Visitors Frankfurt could still make the Champions League or miss out on Europe altogether.
On my
Allianz Arena, Bayern hit a snag early.
Right across the face of the bar and turned in by Ale. A goal for Frankfurt and hope for Dortmund.
There's been a goal in Munich. 1-1 is the score.
Parity restored for all of 3 minutes before the record champ struck again.
Alaba there and Bayern back in front in the title hunt. And still Renato Sanchez! A title-winning blow.
It's pretty much over here. I was watching the other games. Maybe Mainz can do something.
If Mainz took something off Hoffenheim, Frankfurt could yet make the Europa League at Hoffenheim's expense. Mainz's equaliser nudged Frankfurt back up to 7th in the table, a point behind Wolfsburg, who were coasting against Augsburg.
And it could be a great day for Wolfsburg. It's the hat-trick goal for Weghorst.
Sometimes I'm a little bit like emotional guy. I always become a little bit crazy after some goals. Today was so important for all of us, for the club.
At the Berlin Olympic Stadium, Leverkusen were also in free-scoring form and now on course for the Champions League.
And here's Brandt! Oh, it's magnificent!
They believed in it and they showed that they can do it, so I'm really proud of them.
Depressing news for Gladbach because that means they are currently in 5th in the table. Good ball, Pulisic, followed up by Marco Reus, and Marco Reus makes it 2.
4-2 to Mainz, cause for celebration among the travelling support in Munich. Frankfurt into Europe again after an exhilarating season.
We had so many matches and played until the semi-finals in the Europe League, and now the boys deserve it also to come to the qualifiers.
Alongside Frankfurt and Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg also secured a Europa League berth.
Job is done, and yeah, for now we have Europe next year, so that's great.
Bayer Leverkusen are cruising into the Champions League. Alario, he's got it. Peter Bosch coming in January. What a turnaround! And he has led Bayer Leverkusen to Champions League football for next season.
The season's final moments in Munich.
Job done for Bayern, while Dortmund have to settle for second. 6 places decided in the race for Europe, and that is that. It's all over. So now, all we have left to say goodbye are some memories from a spectacular season and some things to look forward to. Thanks for watching and see you next time on Kickoff Life.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This
This now number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way they inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every go enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
backfired.
very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
This TV station, Plus TV Africa, is designed to help to create a paradigm shift. The more we tell our stories, the more we learn from whatever our past mistakes have been.
We can be much more than we are. We should be doing a lot in refineries.
And we are definitely investing in our staff. We're training, we're developing, we're creating the kind of workforce that will be the envy of the international broadcast. The quality of the reportage, the quality of our presentation, the quality of our production will be obvious. We're saying that we want to reach Africans wherever they are and get the message across to them. That's what Plus TV Africa is all about.
New governor for your state talks tough, reverses appointments and bans NURTW. Malawi president promises to deal with corruption. US tries to convince allies to drop Huawei. Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Plus TV Africa and this is News on the Hour. My name is Felicity Ezewike. President Muhammadu Buhari will on Saturday join about 53 world leaders in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the opening of the Summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. The summit, 14th in its series, to be attended by all heads of state and government of member countries, is to be presided over by the Saudi monarch, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. The president, who arrived in Mecca on Thursday evening via the royal terminal of King Abdulaziz International Airport, was received by senior officials of the government of Saudi Arabia, led by the deputy governor of Mecca province. Since Nigeria joined the OIC in 1986, President Buhari becomes the third Nigerian leader to attend its conference in person after the late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua and his predecessor in office, Goodluck Jonathan. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Friday announced the appointment of Mr. Tayo Ayinde as his Chief of Staff and Mr. Gboyega Soyenwo as his Deputy Chief of Staff. According to a statement signed by Sanwo-Olu's Deputy Chief Press Secretary, the appointments take immediate effect. Tayo, an alumnus of Harvard Business School, Boston, USA, and University of Cambridge, United Kingdom, is a former security and intelligence personnel. He also served as the Director General of the Babajide Sanwo-Olu Independent Campaign Group between 2018 and 2019. Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State on Friday announced the reversal of appointment of 11 permanent secretaries in the state. Makinde announced the decision to reverse the appointment at a meeting he had with all permanent secretaries. The 11 permanent secretaries who were appointed 2 weeks ago by the immediate past governor of the state, Abiola Ajimobi, were subsequently inaugurated on Wednesday, May 15. Governor Makinde reversed the promotion as part of efforts fulfilling of his promise to review all new contracts and appointments made by Ajimobi in the last 3 weeks of his administration. Makinde's media aide, who confirmed the reversal, said that the decision was in line with the governor's electoral promises. The Oyo State government on Friday prescribed the activities of the state chapter of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. The action followed alleged security breaches and factional clashes of the union members in some areas of Ibadan, the state capital. The chief of staff to the governor, Bisi Ilaka, told journalists at a press conference at the government office that the union's activities had ceased forthwith. Ilaka urged the people of the state to go about their lawful businesses. On Thursday, the police public relations officer said 6 NURTW members had been arrested for disturbances at motor parks between Wednesday and Thursday. Still in the news, and this time from Bauchi State, the governor, Bala Mohammed, has ordered the immediate payment of salaries owed state workers by the immediate past administration. In a statement issued in Maiduguri on Friday by his senior special assistant on media, the governor directed that a payment must be effected from January 31st, May to Monday, 3rd June 2019. Workers who were engaged by the immediate past administration in the last 1 month would be exempted from the payment. Governor Mohammed, in a statement, also reiterated his administration's commitment to workers' welfare as its cardinal principle. Justice Adedayo Akintoye of the Lagos State High Court in Igboshere on Friday demanded a fresh medical report on the health status of Ricky Tafa's son, who was accused of giving gratification to judges to pervert the course of justice. The judge's demand for fresh medical report followed an application by Tafa's lawyer that his client needed time to recuperate following a surgery he had abroad. The judge said before Tafa's application would be heard, the defense needed to furnish the court with a medical report on the son from a general hospital or a teaching hospital. She then adjourned the matter till June 21. The Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board has released the withheld Unified Statutory Matriculation Examination results of 4,536 candidates. The board stated that the results were released following the consideration of a committee that reviewed the results of 4,760 candidates that were earlier withheld for multiple facial matches with different names during registration for the examination. JAM's head of information, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, stated that the release became necessary following facial match recognition carried out by specialized software and information technology experts. He also said the board has released the UTME results of 231 candidates who sat for the examination at the Nigerian Navy Secondary School at Abeokuta, Ogun State. The board has, however, suspended the Center for acts acceptable to the board. A fresh case of circulating poliovirus, CPV, has been discovered in a sewage located at Damanawa Ward in Taruni local government area of Kano State. The new incident has interrupted a 3-year polio-free record of the state. The circulating poliovirus, CPV, is mostly linked to poor environmental sanitation. Though it cannot cripple a child, it poses a threat of wild poliovirus, WPV. The primary health care coordinator of Taruni local government area, Nuru Haruna, told journalists that the virus was suspected to have emanated from Zaria local government area in Kaduna State, where 2 cases of CPV were discovered earlier this year. He said following the discovery, all under 5-year-old children in the area at risk of contacting the CPV. Hence, the State Ministry of Health and some other stakeholders organized a mop-up immunization exercise in the area to prevent the spread of the virus. The coordinator also lamented the rampant case of non-compliance to polio and routine immunization in the area, especially at Damanawa, Hotoro, and Daurawa quarters. Today marks World No Tobacco Day. And World Health Organization on Wednesday revealed that tobacco kills 8 million people each year. The WHO said 40% of tobacco victims die from lung diseases and about 1 million from second-hand smoke. Vinayak Prasad, in a briefing, said more than 660,000 children under 3 years old die of lower respiratory infections caused by second-hand smoke. The WHO Director for Non-Communicable Diseases said there is no evidence proving there are safer alternatives to cigarettes, warning that it normalizes smoking and hooks young people.
Every year we know about 8 million people die from tobacco. That's the global figure, about 8 million. About 1 million of them die from secondhand smoke. Now, these figures have stayed constant for the last couple of years. But out of these 8 million, we have about 3.3 million, about 40% of these deaths due to lung diseases. Now, what are these lung diseases? Cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, and even tuberculosis. So these products are not smokeless. And these products are tobacco products. So there are two big things. One is these are tobacco products. And our recommendation as WHO is please regulate them as tobacco products. The claims that these are less harmful, we don't know. There's no evidence to demonstrate that. And therefore, we follow the precautionary principle. Take precautions, treat them as tobacco products, and regulate them the way that you regulate for other products. On the contrary, we are seeing that in countries that have been very liberal with electronic cigarettes, the use of ends is very common amongst youth, actually more than 2 times what conventional cigarettes is. So basically there's a perception that these are safe products, and it's actually hitting the market, and the group which is most vulnerable, children, teenage children. So it's a problem which we are seeing in a number of countries now.
Earlier, we spoke with the Chief Executive Officer, Occupational Health and Safety Managers, and he shared his view on this.
Well, it's not really a casual activity because we have to keep creating the advocacy towards the ills that are present in tobacco use. We are in this state because government also hasn't been able to give us the requisite enabling laws to actually guide against regulation of tobacco. Until we unveil the ills that are involved in tobacco use as it pertains to lung, people don't know what they're doing. Though even those who know the ills that are involved by virtue of addiction can't really quit tobacco. So this day has been set aside to keep drumming the message home that tobacco is dangerous under any form of guise at which they're presented. But I'm happy that this year's team is focused on lung health because tobacco causes about 80% to 85% of the lung disease we have across of lung disease like cancer and respiratory issues. So we need to start driving this message home because we don't want our people to die for issues that are actually preventable.
Okay, now let's also talk about the National Tobacco Control Act of 2015 now. So many public officials, health officials have called on President Muhammadu Buhari, especially as his second term begins that he has to give priority to this?
He just has to, because the government is the custodian of public safety. And tobacco is one of such things that we must give attention to, because people smoke recklessly. You have the second-hand smokers who have no business with tobacco, but because there are no regulatory provisions, anybody smoke wherever he or she likes, and somebody who have no issue with tobacco gets harmed. So we really need him to actually use his office to ensure that the lives of Nigerians are preserved by virtue of this law. We've been advocated for this for so long, but you realize when you create so much advocacy, present these laws, along the line, government just tweaks, and that's why we are also crying against the big tobacco companies' interference into our national governance, and that's what happens. They sponsor some legislators against this bill, and at the end of the day, you don't see, like you saw the last one that went through second reading, and that second reading disappeared from the House. So we just need Buhari to President Mohamed Buhari to please help us. We need this very bill to actually preserve the lives of our people, especially in the area of tobacco.
And the International Assembly, some would say, took a right step in the right direction, looking at the draft of the National Tobacco Regulations. The Senate and the House of Representatives gave it a good nod. And now we have the 9th National Assembly. What do you expect now, steps to consolidate on that previous effort?
We just wanted to consolidate on that, looking at what was done in time past. And don't look at it from the perspective of what comes to the nation as revenue. What the nation spends in dealing with tobacco-related illnesses is more than what we get as revenue. And this is from the dimension we wanted to look at it. So we just wanted to look at what happened before in the last National Assembly and consolidate on that, and ensure that as this bill comes to you, look at it critically and look at how it benefits the nationality, the Nigerian population, and see what you can do about it. Because this is their responsibility. Because if there is no law to regulate this, there's nothing anybody can do. But we need enabling laws that come from them for people to actually act and do the needful.
Okay, now let's also talk about electronic cigarette consumption. Now, this poses almost twice as much a risk as the conventional smoking that we are known to have in the country. So now, so many youths are rather resorting to this under the guise that, well, it doesn't hold so much of health implications. What's your word to the youth to resort to?
I think that's just a lot of ignorance that's actually fly across the country. There's no science to prove that the electronic tobacco is less harmful than the conventional tobacco. They are regulated as tobacco. Even the new one that's coming up called shisha is also as harmful as tobacco. So they should be treated as one. Anybody that comes under the guise that, oh, this is safer for me, you are just trading in an old trouble for a new one. So it's same thing. We advise our youth to please desist from tobacco. Say no tobacco is the way to go.
And you earlier touched on regulation. Now, when at this time, some have also called for additional taxes on cigarettes, for example, because they've said having that bar on the box of cigarettes saying that smokers are liable to die young has not necessarily done enough. So do you think adding additional excise tax rates would do any justice?
It will have been adopted by so many countries, and it worked, because the more excise duties are added to tobacco importation, the more the price of tobacco goes up. So assuming a man who can purchase about 20 or 3 packets of tobacco in a month, and as the excise comes in and tobacco price goes up, he can't buy. This purchasing power to tobacco reduces. And even some people who import, when they find out that the price have gone up, so they can't really import as much as they would have when it was. I want to use Advent to appeal to Nigerians or family members who smoke. The lungs of the kids that live with you are still very tender. Exposing them to tobacco smoke on a daily basis is not going to help them. You just complicate their problems.
The President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengassin Francis Johnson, is dead. Johnson died in the early hours of Friday at the National Hospital in Abuja after a brief illness. This was disclosed in a statement jointly signed by the Deputy President of the Association and the Secretary. Johnson was on the final lap of his 6-year tenure as Pengassin President before his demise. The statement added that Johnson's attributes propelled him to develop a deep connection with nature, zest for life, and the total transformation of Pengassan National Secretariat. It's time to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return. You're watching News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. Malawi's President Peter Mutharika began his second five-year term with a tough stance against corruption and pledged to revive the economy following accusations of corruption and mismanagement. Speaking at his inauguration on Friday in Malawi's second-largest city, Mutharika warned that he would not spare anyone found abusing their positions in an apparent response to allegations of corruption that marked his first term. Meanwhile, the main opposition MCP's leader addressed a press conference that rejected the results of the polls, citing electoral fraud. The main opposition Malawi Congress Party, MCP, led by Lazarus Chakwera, is accusing the election body of complicity to rig the last polls. Mutharika won the election with 38.57% share of the vote, with opposition party leader Lazarus Chakwera scoring 35.41% and Deputy President Salius Chilima claiming 20.24% in the final tally. A member of Sudan's Transitional Military Council, Salah Abdul Khalig, said that the council will only hand over power to an elected government. He told an audience of community leaders who hold administrative posts at the government that the council would never give in to the opposition forces' request that power be handed completely to civilians. Negotiations between the military council and the Forces of Freedom and Change came to a halt following a disagreement over the representation of civilians and the military in a sovereign council that will rule the country until elections are held. The Transitional Military Council took over power in Sudan after mass popular protest resulted in the ousting of longtime President Umar al-Bashir. The news continues after the short break.